we see here on the screen is human design. Human design is a person's energetic blueprints. It allows a person to understand who they are from the time they're born until the time that they leave this earth. This person's energetic blueprints allows them to understand how they say yes or no. If they understand how to say their proper yes and no for who they are as a person, then naturally that means that we're making correct decisions for us. And what happens if we're making correct decisions? Well, we allow our purpose to flow through us. That was a lot to ingest at once. So, human design, what I just said is it allows us to understand our yes and no for who we are as a person. And when we follow that, we make correct decisions for us, which naturally allows our purpose to flow through us. This is without getting our brain involved. This isn't saying things like I shoulda, woulda, coulda. This is allowing our energy to tell us what is correct for us, for our trajectory in life. I could say it many different ways. So it allows your purpose to flow through you. So this is human design. Let me talk about it in a different way. Human design reminds us of who we are when we were born. We are born into a society. We are born into a race, a gender. Maybe we were born into a religion. And we are conditioned to be those things when we go to school. We are expected to act a certain way. And then when we're done school and maybe we move out of the authoritative figure's place, we're like, we're free. But are we though? We have the laws of life or the terms of service of life that we have to follow. So we have to change who we are a little bit. This beauty that we're talking about, MissChloeASMR, is an ASMR artist. So this person needs to manipulate themselves when they go live on their streams to make sure that they are adhering to the content that they say they're doing. So this is bringing us back to who MissChloeASMR is after she's done her role plays, after she's done whispering for her ASMR. MissChloeASMR, once again, this is reminding you of who you are when you were born. It's not what your authoritative figures expect from you. It's deconditioning away what our bosses want from us. You're your own boss. It's deconditioning away what our friends expect from us, society, and brings us back to who we really are as a person. So sometimes we make conscious decisions to change ourselves because, as an ASMR streamer, we can clearly see where a lot of the success monetarily is hitting right now. And it's very spicy to want to go over there and make that instant cash, but, you must know yourself very well enough to know that you are not going to be conditioned by those changes and you are going to continue to be who you are. So once again, people could say things like, oh, well, that person over there is doing something successful, so I'm going to change myself to be like this person, so maybe I can see the success that they're having. So sometimes people experience trauma in life and there's coping mechanisms that help them get through the day. Maybe you humiliated yourself in front of your friends and you vowed to yourself that you'll never do that thing again, even though that thing that got you humiliated was truly you anyway. It was just the wrong people receiving it. Let's go back. So human design is your energetic blueprints. This is you. This is you when you're born and when you leave this earth. This is what you can rely on as you being you. There's going to be two different parts of what we're going into today, everybody. We're going to be hopping into what MissChloe ASMR needs to know. So part one is what MissChloe needs to know. And then part two is going to be running over some brain candy, where if you're overwhelmed by the information, you can just shut it off and listen to it later, because the brain candy really doesn't matter. It's just fun and cute stuff to know. All right, we are going to run into what MissChloe ASMR needs to know about their energy. Chloe, what do you need to know about your energy? Let's run over it. Just like in the astrology world, we know that in the astrology world, we know that there's signs like Capricorn, Gemini, Leo, Cancer, Virgo, whatever. But the same thing in human design is that there are types. And your type, MissChloe, is that you are a projector. Just like in astrology, we know that those words, Capricorn, Sagittarius, that they have a deeper meaning for people who have studied astrology. But, you know, as a person like myself who knows nothing about astrology, it kind of gives us a classification of where we're headed, right? So that's the same thing with human design. As a person who may not know anything about human design, you're not supposed to know what the word projector means. You're supposed to hear it, because that's who you are. That is your type. You are a projector. As an analyst, there's a ton of different things that I could tell you about being a projector, but you're a projector. We'll talk more about what a projector is when we go into the brain candy side of things. So don't you worry. And we will be running over what all of these words are and some of what these numbers mean for MissChloe in the brain candy section of this. All right, MissChloe, the projector. Because you are a projector, I realized that I actually got started way too quickly on what I wanted to say. Human design allows a person to understand their own choice mechanism. A choice mechanism is always the strategy and authority. It doesn't matter if we're talking to MissChloe, if we're talking to myself, or if we're talking to anybody who is watching. Strategy and authority for your chart is always how you say your yes and no, your choice mechanism. Like as you see here in human design, the jargon term is strategy and authority. So we might interchange those words, choice mechanism, your yes and no, or your strategy and authority, to understand how you say your yes and no. This is part one. This is what we're here to do. This is why human design exists. It allows you to understand you, and this is where it sits. This is all you need to know about human design coming up right now. MissChloe, how do you say your yes and no? Your strategy and authority, your choice mechanism? Well, as a projector, you must wait for the invitation. Let me tell you what that means exactly. I have a few different projector friends. I'm not a projector, so I don't necessarily understand on the DNA level what it means, but on the intellectual level, I can give you a few examples of what this means. So waiting for the invitation. Let's just start with an example. Let's just say that you have something to say and you decide to say it out of the blue to someone, an opinion. Well, that person didn't ask for your opinion, so it's most likely that this person is going to be offended or like, why are you even telling me this? Or so let me go deeper with that example. I had a projector friend and we did a lot of energy healing together. And I remember that one of her opinions was the reason why we don't talk anymore. We used to do a lot of healing together, like energy sessions, and she said something like, "You're broken. You need to keep on working on yourself." And I was sitting back offended, like, no, you're broken. Like, that's what I'm thinking. You're broken. You need to go fix yourself, bitch. But that's what it is that she gave her opinion on being broken. And although it most likely was true, it wasn't what I was inviting her in to say right now. And I was super offended, and it actually ended our relationship, our friendship. It's just because I was just done at that point. So, waiting for the invitation is literally someone asking you for what you think. Instead of just barging in and letting people know. It's pretty hard, in my opinion, to be a projector. But in my particular energy, I don't have any energy in the throat, so I kind of feel maybe some of the pain of what it is to be a projector, waiting to be invited to speak. It's hard keeping quiet when all you want to do is externalize. Sorry. When you just want to put everything out into the world that you know. So waiting for the invitation is really important. When we're talking about waiting for the invitation, it's not saying that it's don't go out there and do nothing. No. You have to go out into the world and be around people, places, things, or experiences to see if those are some of the things that you want to partake in. So how do you get yourself out in the world? Well, it kind of has to do with your inner authority as well. We'll talk about it. But we're still talking about wait for the invitation. I have some projector friends who have studied human design, and they kind of found a way to trick the system, I guess you could say. They would come in my chat, be like, "Oh, I had such a great weekend. I have so many fun stories." And they would, done. They wouldn't say anything else. So if I wanted to hear about their stories, I would say, "Yo, what did you do this weekend? What are those stories about?" And that would be the invitation. So you kind of set yourself up. Oh my gosh, I just did this collab with this mega streamer. I have so many stories to tell you guys. That's it. See if people invite you into wanting to hear those stories. They'll be much more well received. And if nobody reacts to it, that means that your beautiful things that you want to say, unfortunately, would just fall onto deaf ears. And I would rather say nothing at all than it fall onto deaf ears. So waiting for the invitation. It's for some reason, a teacher's example came to mind where sitting at a table of a group of people and waiting to be invited and to speak. There was one of her students who did that, and during dinner, nobody asked her to speak, and she was so bitter when she left. But that just shows that that person might have been speaking way out of turn all the time and creating incorrect choices, and which will lead her down the wrong path in life. So this person had a rude awakening during that dinner, as she stayed silent the whole time and nobody invited her in to speak. It hurt this person, made them bitter. Okay, so as we said during this experience right now, that we were going to be going over how MissChloe ASMR ends up saying their yes and no. We agreed that the strategy and authority is the jargon term in human design. That is the choice mechanism, your yes and no. Strategy, wait for the invitation. And we've really only talked about that so far. And inner authority is self-projected. So it's a two-part mechanism. Self-projected projectors really do need some type of confidant in their life. Not necessarily to give them advice, but for them to be a soundboard. Because the only way that MissChloe ASMR is going to be able to make correct decisions for herself is by hearing herself speak and seeing how it sounds when she hears it come out of herself. So for example, she sits down with a friend, she externalizes that she wants to do something, they talk about it, and then she hears back that, you know, maybe her friend's saying it in a different way, and she hears the friend say it back, or maybe she heard herself externalize and she's like, oh, I don't want to do that at all. Well, you know, that's MissChloe ASMR understanding what needs to happen next. So this particular type is a rare type because they kind of rely on the other to help them understand their inner authority. So you need a soundboard. When you want something to do or you want to make a decision, you should start externalizing it. Start talking about it. Now, you need it for your confidant. As a streamer, it's very easy to speak about everything in your streams, but it's more so for those confidants, those people maybe in person, so you can hear it back, see how it sounds, not necessarily just in a chat, but I don't know if you know who Jeff Dunham is. He's the master puppeteer, ventriloquist. He's actually a self-projected projector, and I think it's really cute. Maybe at a young age he realized that this is how he needs to be in order to make proper decisions. So Jeff Dunham, maybe he created Peanut and he created Ahmed and he created the jalapeno on a steak, because those were just different externalizations of his voices. Who knows? He's a self-projected projector. Maybe he didn't have anybody to speak to when he was younger, and he used his ventriloquist dummies to hear himself talk back. So he is a self-projected projector. And I think that's quite interesting that a ventriloquist who has multiple personalities in what I call the dummy, I just think it's so unique and so awesome that his inner authority is his job, externalizing so he can hear himself back. It's awesome. I bet that as Jeff Dunham started the ventriloquism, I bet a lot of people thought that, why are you showing me this? This is weird. I didn't ask to be shown this. So he had to wait to be asked to be shown who is Ahmed, who is Peanut. And that's when he saw his success and his fame. Who is MissChloe ASMR? Who are you? What do you do? Waiting for the invitation, self-projected. So MissChloe ASMR, let's put those together. You've been asked to go to the store. And you're like, well, what store? And then the person answers back, oh, I'm going to the store that you really like. Oh, well, what time are you leaving? Oh, I'm leaving now. And you're hearing all of these like back and forths, and you're hearing this externalization of something you actually enjoy, going to the store that you like. But upon hearing yourself back, you're just like, no, I'm actually not feeling it today. So thanks for the invitation, but I'm just gonna stay home and work on the things today. Once again, I said that you aren't just meant to sit there and do nothing until you're invited into something. So how are you going to get yourself out into the world? Well, you're going to hear yourself talk. Yeah, I gave you the example earlier of my friend who, they are a self-projected projector, or they're just a projector in general. And because there's 3 different types. And he just says, oh, this was awesome. It was great. This weekend was great. I have so many stories to tell people. And then that's it. He kind of sets the energy up to see if he's been invited or not into the thing. And just because you were invited into something that you had started, it doesn't mean that it's actually for you. Once you hear back the detail and the frequency of what it is that maybe something that you invited someone into, maybe you don't want to do it, doesn't sound good. So it is suggested that maybe you don't do it. Just because you started it and it sounded good, maybe when it actually gets time to do it, maybe it's just not for you. But what's most important about being a projector, waiting for the invitation? We're actually going to get into the brain candy part of it now, part 2. We'll go back to your yes and no choice mechanism. So being a projector, waiting for the invitation. There's also a different word that we can use, and it's to be recognized. So waiting for the invitation can also be described as waiting to be recognized. So MissChloe, what you're supposed to be doing is supposed to be investigating and doing your thing, mastering your mastery as a creative role model. And you will be recognized for your mastery. Oh, MissChloe ASMR, you're so gentle. Your ASMR is the best. MissChloe ASMR, the forest elf. So beautiful. But what's interesting about a projector is that unless you recognize this about yourself, all of those things that people recognize you for, it'll just blow by you. So, if people recognize that you're the master of being a ballerina and you don't recognize that for yourself, then no, I'm not a master of being a ballerina. So you can just think about all of the different areas of your life where that was just the extreme example of what people could see being the master at. But maybe people could say, oh, you're the master at doing quick ASMR. And you're like, well, no, I'm not. I see myself as slow and gentle. But maybe there was this one time where you did quick ASMR and it was super awesome. And you are a master at it. But once again, this could go into different aspects of your life, of how you see yourself or how people see you. As a projector, you are here to be the master of something. What are you here to be the master of? You're here to be the master of the things that sound good to you or not. and the things that you've been invited into for your mastery. I wonder, regarding your ASMR career, how were you invited into that? Did you like the way it sounded when you finally decided to do that yourself? What happened when you started talking about the externalization of doing ASMR? Who did you tell? I'm sure it was a confidant. Or did you just start doing it? Did you recognize this mastery within yourself? And then did you wait for the invitation for the ASMR community to recognize that about you as well? So being a projector, it's all about being recognized and waiting for the invitation. So a recognition is also an invitation. Once somebody recognizes you, or once somebody invites you, you've got them. They're locked in. Whether you've decided to say yes or no, they're locked in. They've asked. As a projector, you are here not to say, who am I? It's actually, you're saying things that are, who are you? Who is the other? And because of that, you are here to be the master, here to be the guide of the thing that you're awesome at. And as a projector as well, you need time and space in your own aura. I mean, everybody does need their own space and their own aura, but as a projector, it's specifically important that you have your own space during the run of the day while you're awake, so that you can disperse all of those energetic frequencies that you've ingested during the run of the day. So if you're going to be spending your time beside someone all day, you'll probably find yourself exhausted, taking on their energy and their quality and their traits. So it's suggested for a projector to spend some time out of auras to disperse the energy that doesn't belong to you. I don't know your living situation. I know you have a cat, but I don't know if there's someone who lives with you. But it's very important that you and that person, if they do live with you, that you have your own space. We are actually now running down these words here. It's very important that as a projector, getting rid of all of other people's energy is something that you do, because you want to go to bed as yourself. It'll help you sleep. Your single definition, there's not much that means on the generic level, but let me run over it. You're a self-sustaining person who doesn't necessarily require the other in relationships or friendships, but you do have this for the other type of purpose in life. So although you're about thyself and self-sustainable, you are about the other in life. As a single definition, let's talk about some of the opposite ideas of what we were just talking about. You making decisions, waiting for the invitation, and hearing yourself and how it sounds, and you following that decision because that's the right one for you. Now let's just say that you decided to not wait for the invitation and you just decided to hop into it and do it anyway. You might find yourself bitter. Or let's just say that when you decided to externalize what your feelings were and it sounded good, but you decided not to do it because you were scared, that's going against your energy, and that could end up leaving you bitter as well. So doing the opposite of what your energy says is called not self in human design. So let's run over that again. Remember, as a projector, you're here to wait for the invitation and to have somebody as your soundboard to hear what you sound like when you speak. And you're supposed to follow what you sound like when you speak, when you've been recognized, when you've waited for the invitation. And that's called true self. And then if you do the opposite, it's the not self, and these feelings of bitterness could poke up. Let's talk about this even more. What does that even mean? Not self-themed bitterness. Well, as a projector, your not self-theme is bitterness. And you're like, well, duh, you just said it 8 times. Let me talk about that. In the intuitive realm, here in the HD human design realm, these not self themes, whether you're a projector or any other type, these, in my opinion, are up-leveling indicators in different aspects of your life. So I'm going to ask you, MissChloe ASMR, where are you bitter in life? There's the invitation. What do you need to do to change it? There's the invitation. Now what you need to do is start externalizing to your confidants what you want to change. Why are you bitter about them? Why is it that things are in this situation? So, MissChloe, where are you bitter in life? Your bitter self is an up-level indicator. Like I said before, what do I mean up-level? Well, this bitterness theme is telling you that you're not doing something for yourself. You're off your trajectory in life and you've become a little bit bitter. The not self theme of bitterness is really indicating that you've fallen off your purpose, really. And it's indicating that there's something that you could do in life to change things so that you could be more in line with who you are and the things that you need to do to be on the proper trajectory in life. So, one more time, the not self theme, in my opinion, is a key indicator of an up-level area in your life. So I'm going to ask again, MissChloe, where are you bitter in life? What needs to change? What can up-level? Now, let me tell you, just because you possibly could have entered the contract correctly, you waited for the invitation, you got yourself a soundboard, everything sounded great, so you decided to go with it. But then maybe 4 months later, you've become bitter. Well, that's just a key indicator that something needs to change. Maybe you did enter the contract correctly, but maybe the contract needs to change, or maybe the contract needs to stop. But once again, just because bitterness is popping up, it doesn't mean you need to start something or stop something. Maybe something about the situation just needs to change. And what needs to happen for you to do that? You just need to find your confidant and start externalizing your thoughts on what could be possible as a good change for that. Does it sound good? Does it sound bad? Yes, do it. No, don't do it. Since we've talked about being a projector, we've talked about how you need your own space for energy. We talked about how you are about the other and how you're here to be a master, a guide. That is what a projector is. You're here to wait for the invitation, to be recognized for your awesome, that mastery of who you are. And you're here to have a soundboard, a confidant, to hear what you say, coming out of your own mouth, to see what it sounds like, to see if that's something you want to partake in or not. And as a single definition, you're self-contained, I guess you could say, self-sustainable, and you don't feel like you need the other to possibly get things done. But you are about the other in your purpose in life. So apparently you do need to be about the self in order for your purpose in life about the other to be fulfilled. And that's what's needed, which is great. All right, so let's talk about some of the brain candy that's super dangly and fun and sparkly in front of you right now. I've told you this whole time that if you understand your energy and you follow that energy, you understand your strategy and authority, you understand your yes and no, you understand how to properly use your choice mechanism, and you follow it, that you'd allow your purpose to flow through you without getting your brain involved. So let me talk about that a little bit more. So this right here on the screen, Incarnation Cross, that's your purpose. You are the left angle cross of identification, 16-9, 63-64. What does that mean? I'm not going to go into this, but I just want to let you know that it exists. Your purpose right here on screen. What? I have your purpose on screen and we're not going to talk about it? No, actually. Because I've already told you that the only thing that you need to know is how to understand your strategy and authority, or your yes and no. If you follow that proper yes and no for you, you're automatically allowing your purpose to flow through you. So if you do want the brain candy, Miss Chloe, or if anybody's watching this, you can go ahead and Google it. It's the left angle cross of identification. Make sure you include the left angle and these numbers here if you want the more brain candy of what your purpose is. Now, let me tell you, girls, guys, and gemstones, that when I Googled my incarnation cross or my purpose for the first time years and years ago, I didn't recognize it at all. And I didn't recognize it until maybe a year ago. And I've been studying this as a professional for years. So the reason why I didn't recognize it as my purpose is because I was still too far away from who I truly was as a person to actually recognize my own purpose. So I just needed more time so I could get closer to who I really was as a person. And now I do identify with my incarnation cross. It is me. So if you want to Google it, like I said, your incarnation cross is your purpose. Left angle cross of identification. Make sure you get the numbers in there. It's going to be a bunch of jargon. You may or may not understand it, but I just like to let people know that when I Googled it for myself years ago, I didn't recognize it. I didn't resonate with it. It wasn't me. But what was actually not me was that version of myself in that moment saying it wasn't me. So once again, your strategy and authority, your yes and no choice mechanism allows your purpose to flow through you if you decide to follow that decision when it pops up. So you hear yourself talk and you're like, yeah, I'm going to do it. So you do it and you allow your purpose to flow through you, your incarnation cross. Let's just say, let's take the opposite, because we've talked about that now. Let's just say you set this thing that you talked about sounded really good and you're geared up to go, and last minute you're like, no, can't do it. Too scared. Well, the opposite of doing what your body said will take you a step away from your purpose. It'll take you away from your trajectory in life. And it may end up making you experience bitterness instead. We haven't talked about this yet, but because we're talking about bitterness, I'm going to move on to some of the brain candy and then come back to this. So bitterness, not self-theme, single definition. I know, a bunch of jargon. It's okay, don't worry. Let's move over to the chart here. Let's talk about the chart. What's interesting is that everybody has their unique self. There's nobody in the world who is like you. And you're perfect the way you are. You, like this, is what is needed to make this world spin round. And it's perfect. You're perfect. You're differentiated. And this is what we need in life. What's interesting is that the brain likes to think differently. The brain's like, well, this is me? Well, that's boring. Why would I want to be me? I want to be all the things that I'm not. So all of the colored things, all of the colored parts in your chart, this is who you are. All of the colored parts. That's you. And all of the parts that are not colored or not defined, these are areas in your chart where you can play, have fun with, but not necessarily identify as you. But once again, like I said, the brain thinks that there is a problem, but there is no problem. So the brain likes to do something about what is white or what is open in the chart. And you're like, well, there's a lot of white stuff in my chart. And yeah, there is. So you might find yourself in a conundrum, MissChloeASMR, because the brain thinks that there's a problem with all the whiteness, but there's absolutely no problem. And what would the brain think about the whiteness in every center, the openness? Well, let's talk about it. Let's just say, okay, I need to take a step back here. So if we're talking about the true self is your definition. The not self is trying to act as if the white stuff in your chart is you. So true self is you, the not self is not you. So if you're trying to act like those white parts in your chart belong to you, like they are you, that you're identifying with them, these are some of the expressions that you might fall into. And they're all not self themes, by the way. So a not self theme of here is that you may not know what to find interesting, or you might be overwhelmed with what is interesting. The not self expression of this center could be actually the full variety of what the not self expression of this center is, because it's wide open. So I have these centers open as well, so I identify with them completely. This here is where you try to know. For me, it was out of humiliation why I tried to know. I didn't want to be humiliated, so I wanted to know. It wasn't so that I was a know-it-all, but that's kind of like the point of this center, is to know. But the wisdom of this center is I only know what I know, and that's okay. As a person who calls himself a professional psychic, I tell people that I don't know astrology. I don't know the Wicca tree, the pagan tree, the shamanistic tree. Never studied them. And that's okay. I know human design and I know rocks. And guess what? When I know rocks, I don't even know the basic composition of them. And that is also okay. I only know what I know, and that's all right. So some rigidness that we could see in the center is not speaking unless we know we are correct, which is one of the rigidness that I experienced. Because I didn't want to be humiliated. I waited until I knew fact to externalize what I knew. Or this could be a person trying to be a know-it-all. Now, once again, I know you're a gentle and nice person, but maybe someone said something wrong and you're like, well, this is actually the correct way to say it. That's kind of where this comes from, is you feeling like you have the answers. Once again, let's go back to the wait for the invitation. Nobody asked you to correct this person and how they said things. So if you find yourself intellectually trying to impose yourself on people, people might be super offended because you weren't invited into sharing what you feel needs to be changed in this particular moment. I wonder, MissChloe, if sometimes your mind is completely blank and if sometimes you can't stop your mind from moving. So you can experience all varieties of expressions here. It could go deeper. This is where anxiety sits. So maybe sometimes you don't feel any anxiety, and maybe sometimes you're overwhelmed with anxiety. Since we're still up here, a not self-expression of in the head is you taking on work that doesn't matter to you. So for example, in the workplace, let's just say that there's several people in the workplace and they know that your head's open, so they might ask, hey, MissChloe, you got extra time, right? You can finish this for me, right? Well, yeah, I can do it. I'm going to finish that for you. So this is where we might see ourselves taking on extra work intellectually from other people. That doesn't belong to us. So this could be easily you standing in a group of friends and you have your phone open and you are looking up a friend of yours, Ruby, just because you were thinking about something about work. And then while you were on the phone, one of these people in your group of friends said, hey, you should check that news story. Hey, you should check that, the weather, blah, blah, blah. And a not self-expression would be, oh yeah, I am going to check that news story. I am going to check the weather. Instead of just getting to the point of you checking it on your friend Ruby about the thing that you need to do with Ruby. So even though that person near you probably mattered and their questions mattered to you, it actually derailed you in the things that you were doing. So what you should have said was, oh, I mean, you can tell me about it. You can check your phone for the weather. I'm actually working right now, love. So I'm sorry, I can't. It's okay to say no. I will not do that for you. Where are my keys? I don't know. You fucking find them. They're not my keys. I have an example here. I have an open head, so I took on a lot of work of other people. At my last job, we had a transition where I gave all of my large portfolios away to people, and they didn't know what to do. I was one of 4 or 5 people in the company who knew how to do everything. So during a transition period, people were like, how do you do this? How do you do that? How do you do this? I'm like, listen, I can help you, but you do realize that you're going to be doing this by yourself eventually, right? So after the 2-week mark, I'm like, no, I'm not helping you anymore. Figure it out. So I gave them a little bit of leeway and I helped them. But after 2 weeks, come on. If you've been at your job for over 5 years and you don't know how to do this, you really should have another job. Sorry, buds. But you can't rely on your coworkers because that means that your coworkers' jobs are going to be failing. So that was my point of view. So yeah, I had to say no because my clients were not getting the attention they needed because my coworkers sucked at their job and they needed to up level. But I put my foot down and said, no, I can't. At some point. I was nice at one point, and then I was just like, no, you got to do your own work. So this is where you might find yourself taking on work of others that doesn't matter to you, or even questions, right? Videos, music. As a streamer, a lot of the different things come at you. So, you might check them all out just because that's what this might do. But if you're in your true self, you might be like, well, this isn't for me, and you just don't check it out. Skip some of those things in your Discord. See how it feels. Maybe it's not for right now. Maybe in 4 days, your Discord messages might be for you. All right, let's go below the throat and let's talk about all of these little white pieces down in the chart here. Remember, your brain thinks that these white pieces in your chart are a problem, and it tries to do something about it. It tries to be it, which means that it's not self, because that is not you. And some of the things that you might find over here, MissChloe, is yourself holding on to things that are no longer healthy for you. People, places, things, or experiences. Or it could be the opposite. You could be tossing out things that are good for you, such as support systems, etc. Well, I don't need this anymore. I'm strong. I can prove that I got this by myself. I no longer need this. Let's exit it from my life. This center here, the not self-expression, if your body's trying to be this, is you running around like a chicken with its head cut off, not knowing when enough's enough. So you need to keep tabs on yourself, waiting for the invitation, not just doing. And making sure you have that soundboard to make sure you can hear when that burnout happens. Because it could happen very quickly as a projector. You don't have life sustain or the juicy life force energy that it is to be a generator. And projectors try to run around doing. So make sure you know when enough's enough. You have the possibility of saying yes to relieve the pressure. Which leads us over into this particular center. This is where you may find yourself avoiding confrontation and truth. I have this one, so I know all about it. Open like this. This is where I find myself avoiding female type parties, like baby showers and wedding showers. Because all they do when I'm there is ask me questions like, when are you going to have a baby? When are you going to get married next? And all I feel like doing is putting up my middle fingers and saying, why the fuck does it matter? I don't have either. Who cares? So instead of lashing out at those beautiful, gentle people who are asking me questions just to create small talk, I honestly drop off gifts and I run. I avoid them. But this is where a person could find themselves saying little white lies to avoid confrontation, like, yeah, that's a nice haircut, even though it's ugly. So this is where you might find yourself telling too many truths and nobody asked for it. Once again, waiting for the invitations proper. Telling too many truths when it's uninvited, it's probably just going to get you burned at the stake. Let us continue and actually put all of these not self themes of the centers that we've gone over so far together. Let's talk about avoiding confrontation and truth. Let's just take it from that point of view. Oh, well, coworker, you've asked me to do that? Well, I don't want to rock the boat, so I'm just going to avoid confrontation and truth and just say yes. Because I can prove that I know what's healthy for me and working is healthy for me. So I'm just going to go until I just get asked another thing, just to relieve the pressure. So that could be a jump around in this particular chart of some of the not self-expressions that you're seeing. We still have 2 more to talk about. You know, people may try to physically pressurize you to get things done as well. I love talking about this center when it's open because sometimes people externally out looking at you, they might try to pressure you to get things done. This could be by your authoritative figures yelling. But listen, MissChloeASMR, you know what needs to get done. And you can feel the pressure. And you're either going to get it done super fast to relieve the pressure, or you may wait until last minute and get it done super quick. And that's for you to decipher when the proper timing is. But to some people looking in at you, some people may see that waiting till last moment as procrastination or laziness. People may have called you lazy or procrastinator or too quick when you do things. That's an outsider looking in, but this is what I see it as. MissChloe, you're not lazy. You're not procrastinating. The things that aren't done are just not done because they're not meant to get done yet. And your energy is just finding the proper timing for that task to get done. When you finally have the energy to do that task, I bet it gets done. It gets done well. It gets done fast, efficiently, and at your timing, a proper timing. Nobody's going to budge you. You know when your proper timing is. The not self-expression of you moving quickly, or is you moving quickly and fast just to relieve the pressure, only to find out that there's just more shit to do on your to-do list. So those are some of the type of not self-expressions that we see here, just getting things done just to relieve the pressure. So you can imagine what it feels like to be inside your body now a little bit, MissChloe, physically pressured, mentally pressured, to get things done. Just because you feel the pressure, MissChloe, doesn't mean that you necessarily have to do it. I know feeling the pressure is hefty, but doesn't mean you have to do it. Let's move to this little tiny center here. It is tiny, but it really packs a punch, and that's why I actually waited until the end to keep this particular center to speak about it. This one here is called the ego center, the heart center, or the willpower center. So let's just start with the basic knowledge. It's saying that you don't have consistent access to willpower or commitment. I'm not saying that you can't make promises. But what I'm saying is that it's very important for you, Miss Chloe, to make decisions based on your strategy and authority, because this little guy can really pack a punch. He's going to make you want to work harder, better, faster, stronger, even though nobody asked you to do it. This is going to really, I don't know where I started with that. The not self-expression of this is talking about not feeling like you're enough, not feeling like you're deserving, not feeling like you're loved. But that's not true. That's the not self-expression of this theme, or this center. You are loved, you are deserving, you are beautiful. If you ever feel those expressions of I'm not enough, or I'm not deserving, or I gotta work harder, I gotta prove, it all comes from here. And 70% of the population has this like this. 70% of the population has this open. So 70% of the population may, at this exact moment, may not feel like they're enough. They may not feel loved. They may not feel like they're deserving of something, and they may feel like they have something to prove. Remember, that's the not self-expression of this. What I need to tell you, loves, is that you have nothing to prove, even to yourself. You have nothing to prove. You have nothing to prove. You are deserving, you are loved. I started with saying that you don't have consistent access to willpower. Like I said, it doesn't mean that you can't make those commitments. It just means that you have to make the proper commitments. Because as a projector, you don't have this juicy life force energy, like I said. And if you don't make proper commitments, you're going to find yourself out of energy quite quickly. Your energy is telling you what you have the oomph for, what you can commit to. And if you don't listen to it, it's going to leave you in the not self, which is bitter. We are going to talk about all of these wide open centers, like the white centers, all together, and how we might see them in life. Well, the not self-expression, remember, I need to prove myself. This person asked me to pick up a shift. Sorry. There's a shift open. I haven't been asked, but just because there's a shift open, I'm going to prove that I'm the one who can work harder, better, faster, stronger, and I'm going to take it, even though I wasn't the one who was asked. Just to prove that, I can work hard. I don't want to avoid confrontation and truth, because if someone came up and asked me, I would just say yes anyways, so I might as well just avoid the confrontation and truth and just friggin' pick up the shift anyway. Because I feel pressurized to physically do more and mentally pressurized to do more and to prove that I know at my place of work. So we can see how these open centers can lead us into some conundrums. The true self, who are you? You are the colored spots in your chart, the defined spots in your chart. You have a fixed way of identifying with love, direction, and identity in life, and you have a fixed way of externalizing that. MissChloeASMR, you bring out this energy into the world, and it's called the channel of inspiration. You are inspiring. That is what you're here to be, is the role model, the master of being the creative role model. That is who you are. Just let me go into some of these little gates here. 35 is rectification, progress. We have standstill. We have standstill with purification, being called out for purification, or being called upon for purification. This is who you are. Oh, that's perfect. So enthusiastic. The great art of enriching life by the harmonic channeling of energy. And you sure do that with ASMR, and people see you for that. People see that in you. The Grinch, the refusal to share an enthusiasm. That's your light out into the world, the Grinch. I think it's funny, I'm sorry. Let's see what it says though. A lack of confidence in the expression of skills that needs the encouragement of others. Oh, so that's what it actually means, the Grinch. So sometimes in our skills, we need the encouragement of others to move on. So, the Hermit called out the successful sidestepping of behavioral requirements through isolation. I mean, I believe you work from home and people are calling you out for your mastery. I think it's beautiful. Your creative mastery. The Fellowship of Man. These are just brain candies. You're not supposed to understand what they are, but technically at the DNA level, your DNA understands. You are the savior, the ability to overcome all obstacles for the betterment of humanity. This is you. All of these parts that I just said, that I just quickly ran over, are all you, MissChloe ASMR. That is a part of who you are. So, let's talk about this. Once again, you're the creative role model. You're here to get details. You're here to be a leader. People see you and are going to call you out for being a leader. We're going to talk about your profile. Profile you may not understand as you. Why? Because, like I said before, regarding your purpose in life or your incarnation cross in life, you might be too far away from who you truly are to actually understand what your profile in life is. But what is profile? Profile is what you wear on the stage of life as a costume. So if people were to see you, or if you were to see yourself on the stage of life, this is what you are. And once again, sometimes we don't recognize this because we're too far away from who we are to be able to recognize it. But let me talk about this in more of a logical sense and how I experienced it. I can compare this to maybe being an actor, yes, on the stage of life, and you are the actor who is 6'2", but the props person decided to give you a costume for a person who was 4'9". So you're 6'2", and they gave you a costume for 4'9". You know, the props person, that can be likened to, society and what they expect from you. They expect you to be 4'9". So, as you're not self-person, you try to fit into that 4'9" costume, but you're really 6'2". So let's think about how that might feel. If you're going to try to fit into a costume that doesn't belong to you and it's too small, you're either going to burst out of the costume, it's literally not going to fit, or you're just going to be super, extremely uncomfortable in this costume when you do get it on. And that's truly how I felt with my particular profile in life up until I was wearing the proper costume in life. How do I get the proper costume on in life? It's by saying my proper yes and no. It'll allow me to have my proper costume on in life. But what did I feel? Although I did feel pretty on the inside, I did not feel beautiful. I didn't love myself. I hated the way I looked. So there was a big disconnect, a big discomfort in my body regarding who I was. I just felt uncomfortable. So I wonder if people who say things like, I don't feel like I belong on this earth, I don't feel like I belong in this skin, I don't feel like I belong, I wonder if their profile, if they might align to their self, they might feel a little bit more comfortable in this world. But I do resonate with my profile now. Like I said, I did not resonate with my profile when I first saw it. I resonated with other things. But now that I am more in tune with who I am, more in my trajectory, then I do resonate with my profile. So like I said, you can Google this if you want, but you may not resonate with it. We're just going to run over it quickly just to tell you what your profile actually is for when you do have the proper fitting costume in life. All right. Well, in my opinion, this costume in life could be a painful one, emotionally. Why? It's because people see you. And people are going to see you doing you. And it doesn't matter what you do, people are always going to have something to say or have a comment about it. Or you could fix this, you could change that. And it's detrimental to a person being your profile. Always feeling like you're in the wrong or always feeling like there's something wrong, but there's nothing wrong with you. What's interesting is that as this profile, nobody is actually going to know exactly who you are on the deeper level, because people are always going to have these expectations of you, of who you are and what you can do for them, and is that they never actually really do see you deeply. So I like to give an exaggerated example of what it's like to be this profile. Somebody with this particular profile, let's just say you're a brand new baby being born. Well, this is how people expect you to be as soon as you're born. Oh, look at that Buddha. Look at that Savior. They are here to lead us into the future. They are the next God. But then you cry and then you poop because you're a brand new baby, because you need fed, you need changed. That's what babies do, right? If you're going to have a fucking baby, you expect to take care of it because it can't take care of itself. It's not a fucking instant God. It's not an instant savior. So these parents who have a brand new baby who's crying, who just pooped, they're saying, this isn't the savior we asked for. It's a crying, whiny, shitty baby. I know that's rough, but that's actually the projections that your type of profile have on you. You are just you being your natural being, doing the things that you naturally need to do to live, and people have something to say about it, and it's awful. So, my fiance has this particular profile, and for him it's quite painful. People project onto him all the time what they expect from him. Let's talk about the rest of the profile, though. You are here to be an investigator. You're here to research. You're here to understand the foundation. You're here to feel safe in your foundation. It's not going to feel safe for you. It's going to feel like your foundation is like quicksand beneath your feet. So you're here trying to figure out how you're going to get this solid foundation. And once again, people are going to see that. And they're going to say, why are you doing that? You're not my savior. You should already know. Why are you researching that? You should already be the master. Which is, once again, a terrible projection onto this person. You are only going to bring it out into the world when you feel comfortable enough that it is solid. And that's okay. You are here to be you, and you're here to condition people. You're here to be the savior, to be the Buddha. You are. It's right in your 16. Didn't we see that? Was it your 16? No, you're the Grinch here. You're the Hermit here. What was it? 16, 12, 35. Yeah, we saw the Buddha or the Savior somewhere over here. I remember seeing it. So it's in your energy to even be that person on top of being that profile. So there's going to be a lot of projections onto you. Just know that all you have to do, babes, is make sure that you're you through this whole situation. That you are using your strategy and authority to move through your life. Yeah, having those projections onto you is going to be quite painful, but the only thing that you can do about it is keep on moving forward. It's just like those famous people and those, like, what my grandmother used to call the tabloids. It doesn't matter if a person's skinny. It doesn't matter if a person's fat. They're going to have something to say about them. Like, a star is seen. And it doesn't matter what they do. It could be great. It could be awful. Someone's always going to have something to say about it. And that's kind of how I like to explain this being seenness of your profile. You're going to be seen. You might as well just go about your day. The paparazzi is going to be on the side taking hits at you, but it don't matter because they don't matter. Let's run over one last thing. What is 70% of who you are that you put into the world? Well, 70% of what you put out into the world is composure. And a lack of confidence in the expression of skills that needs the encouragement of others. That is what you put out into the world, but it's attached to all of this stuff, so it's actually more than just that. You're a creative role model. You're a bunch of stuff. You're a bunch of stuff that you put out into the world. So 70% of yourself is being composed. And the Grinch, apparently. I think it's funny that it's being called the Grinch. Yeah. Let's run over what's most important again of this whole experience. Miss Chloe, you are a projector, and what does that even mean? Intellectually, you're not supposed to understand it. It's just your type. Just like astrology, Gemini, Leo. Here in human design, you're a projector. That's your type. And your choice mechanism of yes and no is right here, strategy and authority. This is how your body says yes and no. So you're here to wait for the invitation, to be recognized for your mastery, and to have a soundboard of what you actually sound like for the things that you want to do. So you can decide if that sounds good to you or not. And as a single definition, all of these energies are some of the not self themes that you could express. And if you do the opposite of what your energy tells you to do, you could find yourself bitter. And just because you did enter into a contract correctly, you could eventually find yourself bitter over time because maybe something needs to change. And I have told you that if you do decide to follow your yes and no based on who you are as a person, then you will allow your purpose to flow through you. And your purpose is your incarnation cross. It doesn't matter if we're talking to Miss Chloe or if we're talking to anybody who's watching. This is your purpose in life. So if you want to Google it, make sure you Google the whole sentence, including the number. That is who you are.